I want to welcome you to the webinar, Principles, Tools, and Templates for Winning the Private Equity Game. And I'm about to pull up the agenda, and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, I already see questions. Just discuss the AM. Okay. All right, welcome to the call. Please raise your hand so I know that you can hear me using the hand signal. Okay, great. All right, once again, the agenda. Our purpose on these calls is to empower and inspire your future as a PE-funded company. My goal is to have you utilize the community to improve your performance. How do we do that? Well, that's through each of you verbally sharing best practices. And on these calls, we are able to when you raise your hand, and I'm going to now cancel that, I'm able to pick on your name, take you off microphone, and you can share, ask questions to the community. So once again, the goal is to empower and inspire your future as a leader of a PE-funded company. So what does that take? Once again, the expectation from a time frame is this is a 12 to 24 month process. Why? Because it's big game hunting. When you're dealing with owners that are privately held, their identity is wrapped up in the company. And why, when you first contact them, would they let you know whether they're going to sell or not? Because you could be competition, and how real is your offer? And the other part of the context is owners are being called typically by brokers and investment bankers, lawyers, CPAs, all urging them to sell. What makes you different is you're a strategic buyer. You're an individual that understands the marketplace. You've been a successful P&L holder and at other companies, and you have strategic insight to how you want to go about it. Now, do they know that at first? No. That's why it takes time, typically 5 to 7 calls to get a call back from an executive, and once they talk to you, they will all say no, and that just means not now. I want to remind you statistically that it takes 100 targets that are in this 5 to 10 million EBITDA range, privately held, to be qualified and to talk to them. Out of those 100, 7 will sell. Your goal is to go after all 7, and you'll close 1. And in order to fund your operation of this process, we have talked about in the past, you need to either be full-time employed or doing consulting. Never use your nest egg. And so let's open up the agenda with questions that you may have with the group, and or sharing wins or challenges and or getting feedback. And then we're going to go through some of the other items here. So if you would right now, raise your hand and I'll call on you. Please use the hand signal. We need cooperation from people participating on this call, or there really isn't much to do other than hear me talk. So raise your hand. What are some questions you may have for the group? Questions could be, you're looking for opportunities in this category. You're looking for certain input on best practices. So I'm going to start off with Tim. Tim Yeager, please introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Tim Yeager, and I'm relatively new to this process. Just wondering how you go about. I've been networking with friends and people who I think are influential in the area and that I know from professionally. Just kind of letting them know what I'm doing. I do consulting primarily, but I'm also looking for opportunities to invest or buy companies.
What size company and what industry?
Right now, I'm industry agnostic, looking for companies that are in the, 3 million or more of EBITDA is what I'm shooting for.
Yep. And so your question is, what specifically?
Well, am I right in targeting people that I know who are in large companies who deal with marketing and marketing to companies of that nature, saying who do you know who's kind of in a should sell mode, or who could be better improved by a merger or acquisition with something larger, or needs to get out of their current company?
Okay. So my first answer on that is, I'm going to turn off the microphone, is yes. And you need to have multiple methodologies to reach out to people. One, Tim, is making sure that you focus on an industry and segment you know best and get us the NAICS codes so we can do some research to find privately held companies, of which then, using our templates, you and your intern or you personally call them, and you both offer to let them know that you're looking to buy companies in their space, and who do they know, and also be, of course, looking for opportunities to offer those owners exit planning or process improvement that will grow the bottom line. At some point, everyone will sell. And one of the big drivers of selling right now over the next few years is the uncertainty with the capital gain tax. The capital gains taxes are immediately going with Obamacare up at almost 5% increase, so from 15 to 20%. And then if the Bush tax cuts do not get approved, we could be immediately go right back to 30%. So I wouldn't bet on, given our government and the stagnation between parties, it's quite possible there may be gridlock on re-upping that and in order to blame each other. So these are some of the aspects of it. So Tim, we're talking about Blackmore can do NAICS codes. Blackmore has relationships with over 700 brokers in multiple industries. So if you develop a target profile, and I'm going to give you an example of one here. Let's go. If you develop a target profile and send it to us, and target an example of brokers. So here I'm going to pull this up for everyone. And what we do is you send us a description, and we say, and we pay finder's fees to brokers, and we say we're working on behalf of, this is an example right here, we're working on behalf of a private investment firm. We've been retained by BCMT Group, and we're looking for target companies, property casualty, accident and health, and then we do a description. Revenues between 5 and 100 million. That's because the smaller ones are going to be add-ons. typically we need the EBITDA to be around $3 million to be a platform. Anything less than $3 million, we're finding no private equity firm considers a platform. But what we will do is sell that asset off and share a fee with you. Okay, we'll sell it off to another private equity firm. They'll blend it in. They can afford to do that if they have a platform on the $2 million in EBITDA lower. So you can always use our process to create revenue for yourself if the target's a good target, no matter what size. Let's say in the 1 to 2 million EBITDA, they're add-ons. If they're a 3+ million EBITDA, they're platforms. Okay. So as you can see, we take the data you give us, this criteria, and we put it into a format and we send it out to our broker community. Okay? We've also talked about, Tim, on these phone calls that what you can do is you can go to LinkedIn. Okay, and there is a section called groups, okay, and there's a groups directory, and you can join these groups and post. Let's say, Tim, tell me an industry that you know well.
Okay.
What's an industry you know well?
Oh, telecom.
Okay. So, Tim, I put you back on mute. Telecom. Okay. So I put in there, telecom professionals. Look at this, 28,000 members. Media professionals. Let's say categories. You could do corporate groups. So you could see potential target companies to pull stuff out. Lucent. So let's say you were looking for assets. You could put out the word to the alumni network if they have any blah, blah, assets in there. ZTE, that's based over in Asia. Okay? So this is one of them. Look how many different corporate groups there are. What do you think of that, Tim?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot in the telecom space.
Yeah. So there's LinkedIn is another resource by joining those groups, and when you're a member of those groups, you can put out the word via a note. I'll show you how to do that. Let's look at our groups. Okay. And we can go to electrical manufacturing. And, okay, that one's still pending. We haven't been allowed in. Telecom sales professionals. Oh, pending approval. So we're not. Let's see, your membership is. Okay. Let's go to Chemical Industries Network Forum. And what you can see here is what we probably somewhere here, my activity. We put a note out that we're looking for executives interested in acquiring companies. We get dozens of resumes. You can put an update and put anything you want in there. Okay? You can start discussions. You can, and that's the way you start developing the inquiry there. Okay. So thanks a lot, Tim. Who else had their hand raised? I see Jeff. Let's go to Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
Good morning. Yes, I'm looking for ideas as to how we can gather information.
We lost you. Jeff, you went away from your microphone.
Okay, bear with me.
There you are.
I'm looking for ways that we can find information, financial information about companies, the type of information that you aren't going to find through either trade publications or Google. Just any out-of-the-box ideas there.
Out-of-box ideas there. Okay, great. Give me an example of a company you're doing research on.
1-800-PET-MEDS.
Okay, great. So I'm going to give you an example of using LinkedIn, okay? So let's go up. Okay, so I'm going to go to companies. 800 pet meds. Maybe it's 1-800. There it is. So what you have there is at least 22 employees are connected. Okay? I only have 2 people that are close to us. That means someone is connected with them. Okay? And let's see, we have director of marketing. So I might go, okay, I might call their main phone number and leave a message, and or I can get introduced to Bonnie. I can send an email, or I can just quickly connect, but I don't have Bonnie's email. Okay? I can get introduced through someone, and it tells me that no one knows her that I know. Let's see, who should, between sharing one, could anybody, I guess I could tell, oh, Chris. Chris is the person that knows. Now, the great thing about someone like Chris, head of business development, Jeff, and business development people inside a company, they're responsible for typically acquisitions. So a company like 1-800-PET-MEDS is always looking to acquire other companies for the company. And so if he works for them, and I would reach out to him. So that would be one method. So let me take you off mute. What are you getting from that conversation, Jeff?
No, this is great utilization of LinkedIn from a standpoint of getting contacts. So that was very helpful, Gerald.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's now go to John Riccardi. John, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is John Riccardi. I've been at this for about a couple months, part-time. I'm a consultant full-time, and so I have had I use LinkedIn a lot to try to make contacts and have reasonably good
What
luck
is that?
using. I said I have reasonably good luck making contacts through LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay. Yes.
Yes. And I use my seconds a lot. I send emails. I look at the groups, and from that I've been able to increase my network. As a matter of fact, one of the targets that I had on my list, I'm about to get a consulting gig from, so that's starting to work out.
Well, how long did that take you from conversation to getting a consulting assignment, and how come, was it a cold call? Tell me more.
It was, yes, it was a cold call per se. I connected through the person on LinkedIn using InMail.
Yes.
And from that, he hooked up with me on LinkedIn, and then I contacted him by phone, and he took the call. And we met. We've had 3 meetings so far, face-to-face.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're in the process. I've given him a proposal, a consulting proposal, and it looks like I'm probably going to get the contract sometime next week.
Great. What's your specialty, John?
I work, I'm pretty broad. It's all high tech, but it's semiconductor, biotech. In this particular case, this company is in the disk drive business.
Okay. Very good. What had you, first of all, when other people were talking, could you hear them?
Yes.
Good. What had you start working with Blackmore? What do you see as the opportunity here for our process, for you, and what you're up to in life?
Well, he certainly give me all those, when I gave you the codes and you gave me all these people to look at, that helped out a lot because it gave me the list. So I have a list right now of about 35 companies that I have started to make contacts with. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's a very slow process.
It is.
And there's a lot of very, very slow process. And I actually had a question, Gerald, that I want to know if you'd ever tried doing this here, and that is to start a group on LinkedIn that is targeted towards companies who might be interested in looking for strategic partners or looking to sell their business.
Yeah, you certainly can do that. What I would first do is look for groups that already have that. So let's take a look. Group directory, let's go back to it. And what do you call it? What's the category?
Well, you know, you could look at strategic partners. I know that those types of groups exist because I belong to some of them. But I was thinking, does it even make sense to have a group that says, you know, I want to sell my business? So, you know, to see what happens with that. So I don't even know what you call that, I guess.
You know, I recommend any creative approach, John. Absolutely, because it is going through the process that leads to other ideas. So, you know, boldness has genius in it. Will it work? I don't know. But
yeah, I just know if you ever tried it yourself, it was just an idea.
Yeah. You should take the ideas, create a group, but you're going to have to invite people to it in some cases. And you're going to have a clear purpose. So as you see, when you go to different groups, they all have, you know, certain purposes, all assigned with it. I don't know where the one is for this, but you know, here's the quick overview of it. So you'd have to have set it up and see who comes and invite others and see what that leads to.
There's no way to broadcast that to try to get members, right?
You know, people, I don't know that there's any way to broadcast it except through your own network.
Yeah, because I have a group that I set up, and we've got about 50 members or something like that.
Not bad.
But yeah, I don't know how to get the broadcasting part of it.
You know, there's
got to be a way to do that.
Within LinkedIn, there is LinkedIn Training and Development Learning Center. Let me pull that up. And there's tremendous amount of resources on how to do all of that. And I want to encourage you all to use the training, their short methodologies that are available to you through the Learning Center. There's a user guide. Okay. There's lots of nice little tools. Explore it. Use it. Remember, LinkedIn has now over 120 million members. And people are, I find it very effective. Any other comments, questions, John?
Nope.
Okay, let me turn off your microphone. All right, Dan Weston, please introduce yourself and what would you like to put out to the group, share best practices, what's working, not working. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to comment on what you said about broadcast and get a group going.
Yes.
I looked into that, and I think the one option that I saw is that you can buy an ad on LinkedIn and people have done that as part of how they promote getting a certain group going. And I think there's some support you can get from how those ads are placed.
Okay.
Based on your target group.
Well, there's a whole section on tips on starting conversation with groups and starting groups. So certainly that does it. Dan, how long have you been working with Blackmore Partners and why, and what are you up to?
Well, I've been on and off because I've been doing quite a bit of consulting on my own side, but I'm restarting right now. I have followed your lead in terms of the interns, so I'm working with the interns to now get into a calling mode. So I probably don't have the same experience as some of the people on the phone here. but I'm also got a telecom background, and I got a target platform in a specific area of telecom that I'm done quite a bit of research on in terms of how to build these companies together. So, and yes, LinkedIn is very useful. I've used LinkedIn quite a lot for just generic research, but I also do think that there's a lot of homework that can be done on the internet as is, because there's also a lot of information that you don't have on LinkedIn as to background of the owners, and I've been able to dig really deep on some of the companies. There's also other tools out there that you don't have to get into Net Detective and so forth, but there's other tools there that can help getting some of the status of the company that you may not find, especially since all of these companies basically are private companies. You'll have to dig a little deeper as to key information as to where they are.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Well, Dan, thanks for being on the call. I'm going to clear the hands out. Again, once again, comments. I'm looking for some of the best practices. Share your challenges and get feedback. I'd like to hear from people. What methodologies are you using to grow your target list? What's key, we have found, is the magic number is at least 100 that are in that 3+ million EBITDA. Now, as with anything, when you're getting the code list and the research from Blackmore, the more accurate number will be the number of employees versus the revenues, because owners tend to underreport revenue. They don't want their competitors to know what they're really doing, or other community members, but they will often exactly give in the reports we give you how many employees. And a typical company, depending on the ratio for the industry, you would use somewhere between 250 and 500,000 per employee. Okay, so let's say if you were using the 500,000 per employee, the company had, and that's sales per employee, and they had 100 people, that's very likely a $50 million company. Or it could be 25. It depends on the industry and segment. So once again, I'm looking for hands to go up, and I'd like to hear how you're growing your target list. I'd like to hear what you're going through in terms of the calling, the messages you're delivering to owners, if you're using a value sys. For those that are not working for a corporation, how are you combining calling targets and selling consulting? How are you using LinkedIn or supplier networks to find opportunities? Please go ahead and raise your hand. I'm going to wait. Raise your hand so I can call. Sharing is important to contribute to this group in terms of what you're finding. So please, who can, or I'm going to, okay, we'll go to Andrew. Okay, Andrew. You know what? I know you called in, but it doesn't allow me to, I can't unmute you. So I don't know what methodology you're calling in on, but it's not working. Who else besides, Andrew, what you can do is type me your comment or questions. You can type it out, okay? So go ahead. If you're shy to share verbally, please go ahead and type things out, and you can send a message to me that way. So I'm going to start calling on people here in just a second. I prefer people raise their hands, and but now I'm going to start calling. Okay. And I'm going to go to one of our interns that I've dealt with. Fee Lee, how's your internship going, and what are you getting out of it? And how's the calling going?
I'm doing great, sir. I'm calling twice a week, and like I spoke with you yesterday, I'm in the process of already getting all the emails, and right now I'm just trying to contact through calls and emails, letting them know that I sent in the information for them to review, and just trying to constantly to see if there are any interested executive to schedule the 15 minutes conference call with my executive.
And how many targets do you now have that you've been doing this for? First of all, how long have you been an intern for your executive?
I would say almost around 2 months.
2 months. And why is this so valuable for you?
It is a lot of it's good experience of learning how to speak professionally and communicating professionally through emails and phone calls and contacting companies and meeting with my executive. He gave me a lot of advice.
Good.
For the field, so it was really keeping me interested to keep doing this.
Yes. And how big is your target list now?
It was 32, and after the conference call with you yesterday, I actually met up with him after school, and we're trying to expand the list.
Yes.
He is giving me a few more states like California, Colorado, to look at, and I'm actually working on a new target list before turning it into him to review.
Okay, great. So you're qualifying that target list. Tell me a little bit about some of the research that you do in order to qualify targets for your executive.
Well, he would give me the revenue amount from 35 to 200 million. I'll do a little bit of research on the company, learn a little bit more about them before going in. And usually getting a new target list, the first 1 or 2 weeks is always about cleaning out the target, learning that, someone else just bought him, so I have to kind of take them off the list. It's all about cleaning them up, and around the third or fourth week, that is constant calling of twice a week, getting emails, trying to get to the CEO, and usually that's how the process goes.
Great. Now, when you're doing calling, Fee, how many times do you call the target every week?
Twice a week.
Excellent. You follow our guidelines. Perfect. What do you notice how many times it takes to get a call back?
If I'm lucky, around 3 or 4.
Yes.
And most usually it's 5 to 6.
Yeah, which is typically our methodology in the documents that I've given all of you. It typically says it takes a range of 5 to 7 times to leave a message to get a call back. What's so great is Fee is unabashed about leaving those messages twice a week. Most of the time, Fee, do you get a person or do you get voicemail?
Well, the first few times I will get a person, but now it's getting to voicemail. So
they just put you into voicemail now?
Yeah.
Great. Now that's great because that means the instead of working with the admin, now you're just leaving directly messages for the executives, and that's what you're going through. Fee is typical. Share with me. What if you were about to leave a message, and if you would, give me exact wording of, let's say you're calling me, Gerald O'Dwyer, and I'm one of your targets, and you just got my voicemail. Tell me what the message is that you leave.
I actually have a template, a small template, and I would give me 1 second.
Okay, yeah, pull up that template. That'd be great. And again, once again, if you're on the call, good, we have some other people raising their hand finally. I'll come to you, Glenn and Dan. Thank you for raising your hands. Again, this is a community effort. It's important that you share what's working, what's not working, challenges that you're facing. And Fee, did you find your template?
Yes, it's usually start with good morning, afternoon, Mr. Gerald. My name is Fee, calling from Haas Consulting LLC. I am calling on behalf of my CEO, Juan Velasco, who is looking for an executive like yourself to collaborate in a joint venture that our firm is working on with Blackmore Partners, an investment bank buy-side advisor in private equity. I would like to set up a 15-minute conference call with you and my managing director, Juan Bosco, to discuss the project in further details.
Perfect.
My direct number, and then I'll just give my direct number. Well, it's kind of, you carry a copy of it, so, but usually I do this much better.
Okay,
And
no, that's
actually,
excellent.
I typed this up and I actually sent it to Juan, my executive, for him to review first, and then he told me that yes, this is fine, I could use it, and I actually got, that's when I started using it.
Excellent. Really, really, really great. So for those that are on the phone, again, the message is very, very clear. You need to be on the phone. You need to be calling. You need to be using your network. And what that message, the dialing and the leaving a message, is approximately 3 minutes per call. So if you had a list of 100, it would be about 300 minutes twice a week. Okay? 300 minutes twice a week for 100 targets. It's not as big as you think. And thank you, Fee. Okay, and let me just check something and see if any other people have email. Let's check this out here for questions. I lost it. Okay, let's come back to, let's go to Jeff. And you had, and let's expand the comments. Let's take a look here. Let's see. One of the things Jeff Parnell talked about is I'm interested in creative ideas, how my peers gather intelligence. We talked about that. And you also mentioned the revenue, the employee per sales revenue was a good metric. Are there any other metrics we can determine to use company data? Andrew, that was a question from Andrew. I don't know, other than you have to type in the name of the company. So, and what I recommend is you use Google Alerts to have every company that you're looking to find intelligence on. Let's close this. So let's go to Google Alerts. Okay, we'll go to Google Alerts. Let's put it in here. And Google Alerts is a way for monitoring the web for interesting new content. So what you do is, let's say, I was looking up a company, I would do Blackmore. If I was looking at Blackmore Partners, I could put that in, and anytime I could put only news items, and I could put it once a day or once a week, and it will send email alerts with updates on that company to my email. So it's a way of doing work for you, and you can get the results instantly or once a week on names of people, company, and every once in a while there will maybe some financial numbers or a metric that you can use there. Let's go to Dan Weston. Did you have another comment or question there, Dan?
No, I was just curious as to what information is being emailed. I haven't used that.
You haven't used. Okay, send me
pre-emailing information before.
Oh, I have all sorts of. When you say pre-emailing, tell me more.
No, but I forget the name of the internist talked. What information have you used, and what has been successful there?
In order to what?
In order to set up the calls.
To set up the calls? Send me an email. I have about 22 different scripts, tools, methodologies, to describe that, send me an email, and I'll send those to you. Okay?
That's fine. No, and I know now you have something, but I just wanted to see what this intern that you spoke had been using.
Oh, she uses all the tool. We sent her all the different scripts and methods that we sent to you, and then she just used what was a good fit between her and her executive. So I don't think there's nothing special that we hadn't already suggested. Okay, let's go to Glenn. I know you had a question or a comment earlier. Glenn McQuiston, go ahead. Glenn?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to step out for a second, Gerald.
Okay.
I've got to get,
All right.
get somebody off to school. It's
Okay. Very good.
7:45.
Okay. Let's see. Glenn had a question. I don't know what that is. Okay, let's go to Mark Copeland. You had a question or comment. Go ahead.
Hey, Gerald, just a quick question. I've run across a couple of companies that are employee-owned.
Yes.
Is this, have you dealt with, in this process, companies that are employee-owned before?
Absolutely. Buying an ESOP is very similar to buying any other company. They're shareholders, and they have to vote to sell.
Okay.
So it's like, not a problem. If they want to have an exit, and it's certainly worth doing. Okay?
Okay. All right.
All right. Okay, let's see, I'm going to cancel. Who else has comments, questions? Jeff, I think we got to you. Other comments and questions. Let's go back to the document. What we're at, I want to know how some of you, how have you grown your target list? What are some of the key messages that you're delivering to owners? If you're not working for a corporation and you're also doing consulting, how are you combining calling targets and selling consulting? Share with us how you're using LinkedIn. And by the way, I want to also remind all of you, if you have yet to send me your criteria for what you're looking for from our company, that's one of the methodologies that we can use to find our brokers. So you need to send that to me, and you need to do it every month, because brokers, what they do when we send this out to them, they go through their list of companies that they know and are working with or have worked with in the past, and they may give a call, and at that moment in time, maybe there's no opportunity, or maybe there is, but you got to, just like any other human being, we have to jog their memory every month. And I'm not going to remember to do that for you, so you need to send me your criteria every month, okay? Okay, let's go to Alfredo. I haven't heard from you yet today. Alfredo, how are you doing with the process and working with Blackmore? Alfredo Rodriguez Lopez, can you hear me? Alfredo, can you hear me? Maybe if you are talking, I can't hear you. I'm going to pick a few other people. Let's see, who else? Monica, how are you? Monica Demeter, how are you doing with our process?
Hi, good morning, Gerald.
Hi, thanks for being on the call.
I'm working with an intern, and we are going through the list of codes that the companies that were sent to match the codes, getting to our target list, and we'll be starting calls shortly.
How did you happen to find an intern? What was your process?
I utilized Craigslist.
Excellent, good.
And I had a number of respondents, and I have one intern now that's been working with me April for close to, I guess, 3 weeks. And I'm trying to recruit a second intern.
Excellent.
many of the interns I found, so far, although I've had a lot of response to it, they're looking for something where they have more one-on-one contact. They don't want this sort of distance or remote relationship with their for the internship. But I'm continuing to search because I think that I can move the process along quicker if I have more than one intern working on the process.
That is absolutely true. And also the other thing we find, Monica, we use a lot of interns at Blackmore Partners. We have typically a dozen at a time. And what we do is as we close deals, they all get a piece of the deals. But the main reason they're here is not for the money that they get as part of when deals close at Blackmore. They're here for the training and development they get. Now here, they have to be on site. With you, Monica, and we have plenty of, the majority of the executives that we work with, they do not personally work in the same office with those interns. In fact, there is no reason that you have to, given all the tools and templates that we have for you. You should be able to have them on our one-to-one calls that we do with you every 4 weeks, plus these phone calls. We will help you, go through on these calls like this, give them ideas and tools and templates to train them to even be more effective. Okay, Monica?
All righty.
Any other, why did you decide to work with Blackmore? What about this process appealed to you?
Well, I just completed a 4-month stint with a company that was private equity based. The very first time I've worked with a private equity funded company. Very much enjoyed the process. We sold the company at the end of last year, and I didn't want to go back sort of to big corporate healthcare, which is where I had come from before I got into private equity.
Yes.
And so I decided that I would start looking for another position as a CEO or a COO in private equity, and that's how I found out about Blackmore and decided that this was something I could do in addition to my search for another role in another company. This could be sort of like my long-term project for my, next job.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got involved, because I'm very interested. I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I love to grow companies, and I thought this was a great opportunity.
That's great. Well, Monica, someone asked, do you pay your interns, or are they doing it in return for training and development?
Mine are doing it in return for training and development at this time. And I think from my perspective, if the intern is very engaged in the process right up to the time of close, that I would want to involve them in the company in some way going forward if they had an interest.
Excellent.
And that way they could get, in addition to just the experience, they would also have some type of financial reimbursement. But you don't know that till you're down the road with somebody for a while.
That is correct. And I got to tell you, we work with a lot of young people, and they really haven't developed the level of integrity in being their word as much as someone who's had a lot more years experience. So you're absolutely right. You don't know until you really go down the road there. So thanks for sharing that. And let me close off your mic. All right. Okay, we have about less than 10 minutes. If there's comments, there's questions you want to type out, you can either type them or raise your hand here, because in just if I don't get any more questions, I've completed what I want to cover today. But I'm going to go to Scott Thurm. And before I go to Scott, next week I'm going to have the president of EvaluSys on our call. And the president of EvaluSys will be talking about a new product that they have. And by the way, this is the EvaluSys website that you now see coming up in your webinar. They've developed a new tool for working with privately held companies in which the owner at some point will be considering an exit. And they have a diagnostic tool that's very useful to use. So we highly recommend the use of a ValueSys. I believe it's about $49 a month, and it's for business advisors, and or the tools are for also for owners. So I like, I've known Bill for a number of years. The tools are excellent for helping you drive down the cost of acquiring new clients, or having a way to qualify prospects and tools. It's a great set of tools. I'm going to go, and he'll be on next week. Scott Thurm, go ahead. You have a question.
Hi, Gerald. Can you hear me?
Yes, please introduce yourself, what you're going after, and why you're working with Blackmore, and then the question.
My name is Scott Thurn. I'm out of New York. I am a packaging professional. I started with Blackmore because I'm tired of being a consultant or an engineer that gets engineered or consulted out of a job. Mm-hmm. And it occurs to me that if I'm going to go ahead and reorganize a company, then I probably would like some equity in that company. Mm-hmm. So that's why I joined up with Blackmore. I just wanted to chirp in a little bit with the LinkedIn portion of your discussion. What I had done was I joined LinkedIn as far as paying them $34 a month, and so I can send emails and connections pretty much to anyone.
Yes.
And
yep.
And right. And so what I did to grow my network initially was to respond to all the people I may know, which it'll bring up a list of all the second-hand or second-place connections that are already in the contacts that you're going to download from your personal contacts in your Gmail or whatever that's going to be. And I went from like 62 to 240 connections in a week. Mm-hmm. And I haven't yet gotten to the point where I'm mining farther. But to tie that in further down the road, I noticed that the sales executives are much more open to private equity discussions.
Yes, they are.
Right. So the sales execs have a book, as we call it in my industry, and they're going to want that book to the company that's going to be able to produce what their clients are going to want, and then I need to know those people anyways.
Yes.
So also that's one of the ways that I'm qualifying my list. Another way that I can do this in my industry is it's about 10 million per 25,000 square feet. So the plant building itself would be an indicator of that possibility.
Mm-hmm. About how much revenue it should be producing. So one of the metrics you use, if you can find out how big of a plant they have, that tells you likely what the revenues should be.
Yes, sir, for a manufacturing site.
Yes. Excellent.
And that's I really didn't have any questions. I just thought I would throw a little 2 cents in there maybe to help.
Excellent. No, the 2 cents are very important, Scott. Thank you very much. Next person I'm going to go to is Jackie Bangs. Where are you, Jackie? I just saw your hand up. Jackie, there you are. And Jackie, when you talk, please introduce yourself, your background, why you're working with Blackmore, and comments or questions. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So my background has been in corporate executive leadership for the last 25-plus years. And in the last few years, I took a sort of side route and worked with some smaller businesses trying to grow them to both sell or in one case do an ESOP, etc. And that sort of got me on the route from sort of corporate culture to looking at more of the privately owned world. And quite honestly, I'm interested in working with Blackmore because I want to both acquire and run a company and create value in that business. Mm-hmm. My question today wasn't really a question, it was a comment. I have just completed the EvalueSys pilot that you were just talking about with the new exit planning diagnostic tool.
Yes.
And I've been I was a little confused when I first started working with the value sys, and so Tom Bixby has been really helpful in talking me through it and the value. So it looks like I will probably sign up with that system, and the exit planning tool I think would have been absolutely perfect for the last business I worked with that I left because the owner wouldn't sell.
Got it.
Really understanding the mindset of owners and what it takes to really get them down the path of eventually selling or recapitalizing is really important.
Excellent. Well, Tom,
so I think the value tool could help.
Excellent. Well, that's perfect because that is, I was talking with Tom today. I said, Tom, I really want to have you discuss that tool on our call next week, because what you're doing is you're calling up executives and engaging them in a conversation about exiting. And why not have a tool, a diagnostic, that can help you and them think through it, and you can sell consulting services around it. One of the things I just want to mention, Monica Demeter just made a recommendation, is to start an intern email support group where they can share best practices and tools amongst each other to improve the results and also the learning experience. So Monica, I'm happy to have you do that. What I will do, unless you tell me, folks, if you tell me otherwise, I'm going to send everyone Monica's email that are on the call here, and you can let them know that what you're trying to do and go forward with that, Monica, unless someone on this call tells me you don't want to be on that group. You need to send me an email right away. Otherwise, Monica will be sending out an email about that. Okay, I'm going to go to Glenn. Glenn, go ahead. Glenn, did you have a question? If you did, I can't hear you. Let me try again. Oh, I did. There we go. Glenn, I have you off now. I can talk to you. Glenn?
Glenn McQuiston. I've been with Gerald for a few months now. My target industries are oil and gas, transportation, and the steel sector. Gerald, I've come up with something outside of that sector. It has the sales are not in the range we're looking at, but the EBITDA is. The sales are actually only 12 million, but the EBITDA is around 6 million, which makes it an incredible margin company.
Mm-hmm.
I have two issues with this pursuing these folks. One is I have a lot of inside information that would expose where I got it from if I approached the board of directors of this company about selling.
Mm-hmm.
How do I protect that situation and still come in with some knowledge about the company?
Well, you know, one thing you do is you could have us call. Number two, you could, and we could call and say we represent an individual.
Okay.
And you would have to just tell us what you want to protect, and we can just call and say he'd like to get you on the line to have a call with you. So you give us the information, you give us how you'd like to set it up, and we'll go ahead and see if and who to call. And then, you know, if they engage you, you just start off the question as if you're somewhat blind, other than, you know, you could throw out you're guessing about them in certain ways. And then the goal is if they're interested in selling, then what will happen is they'll send you an NDA. You'll sign an NDA of getting release of information, and then now you'll have pretty much everything else there. Okay?
Right.
All right.
Okay. The second part of the question.
Yes, go ahead.
The second part of the question, which is also problematic, they're what you call a social enterprise. That's a euphemism for a nonprofit that sells a product.
Yes.
And so therefore they're controlled by a board. Presumably the stock is owned by the quote unquote the community that is interested in this. Mm-hmm. What's the pitch to them? Why they should be?
There is no pitch other than if they want to expand or people need to cash out or the community wants to cash out, there's no reason to sell. You'd have to ask them that. And you can type that into Google. You can type that into Google and about how to buy out those type of situations, and you'll get some background information on it. Okay? All right, everybody, I want to say thank you for being on the call today. Once again, the goal is to empower you in this process. Remember, these calls are every week. There's something new a little bit every week, so we recommend that you be on them every week. Thank you so much.